What happens when the foods you rely on suddenly stop working for your body? For some people, navigating nutrition isn't just about choosing healthier options. It's about relearning how to eat when food becomes complicated. Today, I'm joined by Darien Hudak, a food blogger who developed multiple food allergies and began sharing her journey of learning her body, adapting her nutrition, and rebuilding her relationship with food. How are
Hi,
you?
thanks.
Darien, can you share how your journey with food allergies began?
Yeah, so I was sick for a really long time, a couple years actually. And it was one of those things where I had multiple symptoms. I was bloated to the point that I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. And for someone that works out every day and thought they ate really healthy, I was like, this is not normal. And then it progressively got worse and worse. So it wasn't just the bloating, it was the constant pain and cramping anytime I ate, feeling nauseous, instantly going to the bathroom multiple times a day. And I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, I've had tests done, I've had blood work. I was like, what's going on? Found out it was gluten, dairy, egg, soy, and peanut. So it was all of those. And I was like, great. So basically, everything that I've been eating in my diet has been making me sick. And I don't know where it came from because I've been eating it for a long time. But, women, when they get older and our hormones change, it's kind of like a whole new way of trying to figure out how we eat. Um, so then I went on a gut reset for a while. I was able to introduce a couple things back in there, but it's been really hard. And I think going out to eat, especially, is the hardest thing because you're constantly having to make sure there's no cross contamination. Things are prepped a certain way. I'm having to look at menus before I go to the restaurant. So it's not super fun.
Yeah, I'd love to ask you a bit more about kind of the diagnostic part of your journey. So, when you talk about like you had tests done and then you found out that these were many foods that you were allergic to, what did that process look like?
Oh my gosh, it was very, very long. So, to try to make a long story short, about 8 years ago, I had some nodules in my thyroid that were tested, and I had to get them biopsied. Everything was okay, but it was one of those things where he said, make sure you check up on it every year. I didn't. And then I had a
Mm.
shoulder injury, and the cervical surgeon actually caught it in the MRI and said, "Have you gotten your thyroid checked out lately?" And I said, "Yeah, it was, 7 years or so ago. I'm supposed to follow up. I haven't." So I did. I got it biopsied. I have what's called Hürthle cell cancer cells in my thyroid. And they're currently not cancerous, but the cells are there. And so I think that when those grew, it kind of messed with all of my hormones, which is about the time that I started having all these food issues. So lots and lots of doctor visits, lots of poop tests and blood tests. Finally did a food sensitivity test and realized, all right, this is everything that has been making me sick, and it's most likely from the thyroid, from those cancer cells that are on there. So it's just been something I've had to navigate. I have the option to have surgery to get my thyroid taken out, but then I have to go on medicine for the rest of my life, and it's kind of like if they're not like active cancer cells right now, then why go under the knife if I don't have to?
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm still trying to navigate. I have an appointment on Thursday, actually, tomorrow, to get my thyroid ultrasound to make sure it hasn't grown. It's kind of like at the point now where if it grows, I'll have to have surgery. But anyways, went on a rant.
I mean, I did ask the question, right? That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
You kind of tying it back to the thyroid makes to me, as someone that really looks at hormonal health,
Hmm.
thyroid included, how it's impacted by a lot of the reproductive hormones. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
um, have you noticed other kind of downstream effects? So, like, not just with the nutrition and the allergies, but some of the other kind of symptoms that are associated with reproductive stuff, cycle health and those
Mhm.
types of things?
Yeah, so my period, there were times that it was coming every 2 weeks. I was like, "I just finished it. Why is it here again?" My period is kind of irregular anyway with it being 21 days, but it's been like that since I was little. But then it was coming like every 2 weeks. And then there was a time that it came like 5 days later after I just finished it. I was like, what is going on? Um, but yeah, I mean, working out, I had to take a step back from working out because I didn't have the energy. So,
Mm.
in the CrossFit world, you're there every day and you're like
Mm.
busting your butt. And then I was like, okay, this is not good for my body anymore. And even though I'm recovering and I'm eating right, I need to just take a different approach. So I left CrossFit and started a different type of workout. I only work out 3 or 4 days a week, and then I try to take long walks the rest of the time. But it's really affected a lot my mood, my energy with sleeping too. Like it's been tough for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all the things you're saying, right, again, kind of ring alarm bells to me as far as all of our hormones are so
Mhm.
interconnected. And there's a lot of women where they'll show normal or in range thyroid panels,
Mhm.
but they're having symptoms of being cold all the time, feeling fatigue,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's actually like a progesterone issue, or obviously you know what the case is for
Yeah.
yourself. But yeah, there's all these other things that pop up, and I think it's because we don't understand that our hormones are they are so interconnected.
Mhm.
Um, to kind of reflect on some of the diagnostic testing you were doing, like the blood test and the stool test. I remember I had had a bout of depression that I just couldn't get out of,
Which
and once I had done some blood test, I found that I was deficient in B vitamins.
Oh,
And
wow.
guess what? B vitamins are precursors in supportive of serotonin,
Yeah.
dopamine.
Yep.
And so it's really interesting that when you start looking at nutrition and food, how
Mhm.
much of it can affect how you feel, right? And
Yeah.
how your body physically reacts. So once you learned about what was happening with your body, how did you then start trying to approach nutrition and food?
The worst way possible, looking on I'm being completely honest. I looked on Instagram because I was like,
Ah,
there's
yeah.
so many women out there that have gut issues, and there's so many people that claim to be like doctors, registered dietitians and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and so I would just go off all these trends and like what other all these other women were doing. And I was like, wait, my body is so different than everybody else's body. So like what's working for them is not working for me. So all these healthy type foods were actually making things worse for me. I was working with a registered dietitian for about like 4 months. And the way that she put it, she was like, your gut is so destroyed that anything that's walking in is like walking right back out and saying, no, thank you. I'm good. Someone else can try. So it's been really hard to try to figure out things that I can eat and can't eat. Like if you think of healthy foods, fruit, vegetables, but again, like that's full of fiber, and sometimes
Mm.
fiber doesn't do well with a lot of people, aka myself. So I really have to limit the amount of fruit that I eat and like the different types of fruit. For vegetables, salads destroy me. Um, they're delicious, but they absolutely wreck me. So I can't eat salads. I try to cook all of my vegetables. But I think working with a registered dietitian has been incredibly helpful. Um, and also, my sister, she's a nurse practitioner. So she's been super helpful and answering all my questions and telling me all these things to do. But I mean, I've been navigating this for a while, and I feel like every day is still a journey and figuring out what's going to work.
It sounds like to me, having your sister and having the dietitian, it's at least been validating, right? Like
Yeah.
you're I really relate to the salad thing. I remember being in my early 20s and trying to have all this fiber and having a lot of gut issues.
Mhm.
At the time, for me, the issue was birth control had messed up my gut microbiome, but I didn't know that.
You didn't know.
And
Yeah.
then so it wasn't until I got off of birth control, so I just thought I couldn't eat vegetables.
Mhm.
And it turned out, right, I was deficient in certain vitamins, my body wasn't processing things. I had leaky gut, which
Oh gosh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that kind of to your point where things are coming in and being like,
No
this
thanks.
environment, right?
Mhm.
Inflammation is a really big thing
Oh,
that we
yeah.
don't discuss. So
Mhm.
yeah, so this idea that foods are always healthy for you, to your point, it really is going to be person dependent.
Yes,
If
100%.
your body is not able to process or handle that food and creates inflammation or creates a reactive environment, then it's not healthy.
It's not healthy. I know, and I think that's what the big challenge is that, like, if you just scroll Instagram and you have all these influencers out there that are like, "These are all the things that helped me in my, gut journey," and they list, like, all these supplements and all these healthy foods. I'm like,
Mm,
"Great, those are all healthy foods for you, but for me,
yeah.
my body, I can't tolerate that stuff. Like, that's not gonna
Yeah.
work for me."
And
So
I think we have to tell women, like, uh, if you are eating something and you're having those symptoms, you're having gut disruptions, acne, bloating, or you just feel like crap, you should listen to that more
yep.
so than like forcing yourself to eat a certain way.
Yeah.
Now, on like kind of a broader scope, I would say, yes, nutritionally, we do want fiber. Yes,
Mhm.
nutritionally, we need protein and carbohydrates and fats, and we need nutrient dense food. But the cool thing about nutrition is whatever that formula looks like can be different
Yeah.
for each person.
There's
Maybe,
it's no
yeah,
one size fits all for that.
there's no one size fits all. Yeah. And I think if someone's listening and wants to kind of navigate that, it is tough.
Mhm. It is,
You
and
want to follow good advice.
yeah, and what you said about listening to your body is I feel like so many times people don't know what to look for when they say listen to your body. They're like,
That's
"Well, what do
true.
you mean?" And for me, like, it wasn't just the bloating and the cramping, the pain, the bathroom, the nausea, but I was getting rashes. Like, there were times that I would wake up in the morning and I would have this huge rash on my face. Like, when you sleep at night and your pillow makes that mark? Well, I would wake up like that, but it wouldn't go away for, like, 5 days. So it's just like it was these constant random things that were happening to all over my body, like my hands, my arms. I'm like, where is this coming from? Um, so that was really fun at times, but
How have you navigated not being overly restrictive or fearful of food, right? Because your relationship with food has changed, how
Mhm.
you approach it. So how have you navigated that?
Um, I mean, to be honest, I still am fearful of some things. My sister, she's kind of like, you can't really approach it like that. Like, the foods that don't sit well with you. And so I think I just have a different approach of how I eat, of, not loading things up with sauces, taking out the foods that I can't have. And especially going out to eat, I think is the biggest struggle because I want to be social when people invite me out. But it's kind of like, all right, I can't eat at this place, so can we eat here instead? So
Mm,
just like finding different alternatives. There was a week that I went through, I think it was like a month and a half or so ago, and I couldn't eat anything other than plain pasta, oatmeal, shrimp, basically, like, that was my diet for, like, a week, and it was right around the same time that I was on a second gut reset from this dietitian, and come to find out, the supplements that she was giving me was just destroying me, and so
yeah.
I had to go off that. So, talk about being fearful of food, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm just trying to fuel my body for what's right. I love to cook. I love making new recipes. I don't really use a cookbook ever. I just kind of think of things my own. But I'm also at the point where like my body isn't really, I can't think of the word, tolerating a full meal right now. So I've been making snack plates. So snack plates are, it's really the only thing that has been, I guess, able for me to eat that I've been enjoying the last couple days. And I got to the point where it's like, who cares if I'm making a snack plate? I'm still getting everything that I need, but I'm fueling my body for what it also needs. I'm not worrying about anything else other than how can I fuel my body appropriately and making sure it's still things that I can tolerate without getting sick.
So it's really reframing, right? Again,
Yeah.
what is a meal? What is nutrition? What is
Mhm.
diet? And it is going to just it should be set to what you can tolerate, what
Yeah.
makes you feel good, what gives you energy.
Right.
What are some misconceptions that you find, if like that you could, how do I say this? What are some misconceptions that people have about people with allergies or sensitivities that you run into?
Um, I think a lot of time it's, "Oh, you can't eat that. Oh, you can't go there."
Mm,
They think that it's more of like a preference that I'm just wanting to be healthy by not eating gluten and
Mm.
dairy. Um, but it's not, because if I eat it, it absolutely wrecks me. I think for the most part, a lot of my friends and my family are super tolerable of everything. I will say my my boyfriend doesn't really understand the difference between gluten and dairy. So we were ordering a pizza one time and he goes, "Can you make sure it has gluten-free cheese on it?" I was like, "There's gluten-free cheese doesn't exist." Um, but no, I think for the most part, I don't really come across a lot of issues with people with misconceptions other than the constant, "Oh, you can't eat that," or "You can't eat there" type thing, and me just having to be like, "Well, I can try to navigate it the best that I can." Um, I think also, just like I said before, is everyone thinks it's a preference and not like an actual need because it's going to make me sick. And that's one thing that also bothers me with going out to restaurants is like the server will say, "Is this a preference?"
Hmm.
No, it's not a
But I
preference.
would say, like, even if it was a preference, which obviously it's not in this case, like, yeah, it is a preference. Okay. So like what why would that
Yeah.
why would that need
Like,
to
why does
change
it bother you?
anything?
Does it really matter? No.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What would you say to somebody if they're listening to this and they're like, "Man, a lot of her symptoms sound really similar, or I can at least relate to aspects of her story struggling with food and health." What kind of advice would you give that person?
Start simple. I think people get into this mindset of like throwing in all these different probiotics and all these supplements. But as I mentioned before, if your gut is absolutely destroyed and you're throwing in all these supplements, it's not going to work.
Mm.
You think that it is, but sometimes you're doing way too much to your body and you just need to like take a step back. Um, for me, the FODMAP diet, that was a good elimination to be like, okay, I already know that I can't have these things, but if I follow this diet for 2 weeks and then slowly reintroduce things, then I'll have a better idea of what is bothering me the most. And then work with a dietitian. I think those are three kind of simple things: staying simple, follow FODMAP, go with a registered dietitian. Um, Stop following trends. I hate the trends that I see on social media, and half the time it's these girls that are, I don't know, 90 pounds. They're not even fueling their bodies properly. And they're like, "Well, this is what I eat." I'm like, "You eat 100 calories a day." I don't know if this is
Not
mean to
enough for a
say, but
toddler.
yeah, right? Um, yeah, I've had people say this to me before too, like, because I like to post what I eat throughout the day, and I've had people
Mhm.
comment, "You eat so much during the day." I'm like, first of all, I don't eat so much during the day. I was like, I eat enough because I'm an active person. And this is
That's
coming from
right.
someone like when I was younger, people used to say to me, "Go eat a cheeseburger," because I was too skinny. So it's like
Oh, yeah.
I can't I
Can't
can't
win.
win. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating enough,
Yeah.
and now I'm eating too much. Like, what?
I think, yeah, that's I've worked with women, on kind of all levels of the spectrum, like, very deconditioned, just kind of getting into the movement, lots of inflammation,
Mhm.
metabolic dysfunction, and then high level athletes,
Yeah.
right? But fueling is important regardless of where you are on that spectrum.
Mhm.
And that's something that, I really love that you said earlier about you're focused on fueling your body.
Yeah.
You've gone through this journey, you're still going through it, and there are a lot of difficulties, but you've reframed your mindset.
Mhm.
You are focusing on, even though there's still some fear, you're just like, "I gotta do what I gotta do to
Yeah.
make sure I stay healthy and I can engage in the physical activities that I love,"
Mhm.
right? And I can feel good. I think I would add to your list of, what somebody could do is also potentially try to figure out what's going on, like, get that
Yeah.
diagnosis,
Yeah, for sure.
having an answer, and maybe finding a provider that will listen to you.
I know, and I think that's the hardest thing that I struggled with is that I didn't love my PCP. I thought that she was just very quick to give me a medication and just
Mm,
not listen really to what I'm saying. So I changed PCPs, but then also I'm a very holistic, all natural type way. But then if you want to go see one of those doctors, they're like $600 for the first visit. So that's why I said like try something on your own first, just by
Mm,
like nixing out things that might be an issue. And then if that's not working, then find the doctor.
sure.
Just
Yeah, that
coming
makes
from
sense.
someone that like I went to doctor to doctor to doctor, and it was like constantly being pushed on to the next person. And it's like, this is really annoying. I've seen so many and no one's helping me. So I don't know
Yeah,
what to do now.
that's a great point. And something that I would definitely say in conventional medicine, you may find more of, right? That prescription
Yeah.
led practice of care. I mean, that's
Right.
shoot why I wrote my book, Birth Control. Um, yeah, and also again on the functional side, it can be very expensive.
It
So
is.
that's a great point. I think noticing symptoms and maybe having a food diary or doing something like you
Mhm.
said, start really simple. Uh, so you have your social media where you're
Yeah.
posting about kind of your journey. Where can people find you and what can they expect?
So my Instagram is Clean Bites with D. Um, I always laugh when I say the name because I just feel like it's so silly, but, it was one of those things where I started this account years ago just to post recipes in secret so that I had something to go back and, like, find my recipes, like, when I
Yeah.
wanted to cook something. And then, as I started to get more and more sick and, like, not be able to eat things, I was like, "Well, maybe I can help somebody else with some of the food that I eat." And I've actually surprisingly have had a lot of people message me and be like, "Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Like, I have gone through very similar things. I've met a lot of incredible women that has been on similar journeys to me, and it's been really fun to bounce ideas off of each other, and that's been super helpful." But yeah, I love to post recipes that I make. I also like to post, funny things that take jabs at people that have eating issues like myself, even though I know it probably could be offensive sometimes, but feel like you have to find some humor in it because you can't just be so upset all the time that you can't eat something. Like you have to find a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate your vulnerability, and what it sounds like is you're building a community, even
Yeah.
if you didn't mean to, right?
Mhm.
That wasn't like your original purpose. You're building a community where women can feel, and men too, right? If
Yeah.
they have food issues, supported, they can get advice. Hey, I've tried this, I've tried that. So please make sure to check out Darien on her Instagram, and thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk to you.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next episode.